Israel Church of Jesus in Philadelphia. Well, every third Sunday we have a lesson spoken to you real plainly, hopefully that you can grab understanding. I will be your reader today. My name is Brother Ira. Our teacher today will be Brother Arthur. And the name of the lesson is Israelites to return to Jerusalem on the Sabbath day. Grab your pen, grab some paper and a pencil, and your patience. And without further ado, we're going to turn this over to Brother Arthur.
How you doing? Again, I'm Brother Arthur. And as he mentioned, the title of the lesson is Israelites to return to Jerusalem on the Sabbath day. If you don't know any better, you'll be thinking like, what are you talking about? The Jews are already in the land. So what we're going to do today is give you a clear perspective or a clear doctrine and lesson on who Israel is. So you'll give you a little bit of that, who the people of the Bible are, when the Sabbath day is. Most people don't even know when the Sabbath day is. So we're gonna see when the Sabbath day is to be observed, who instituted it, why is it important. So we're gonna see why the Sabbath day is important. My microphone, I'm sorry. What we're going to find out is that the Sabbath is not just a day we picked or decided to worship on. It actually has a great deal of importance. Right. Even salvation. Now we know God is the God of all people, but he has a people scattered throughout the world in slavery. And we're going to see in this lesson that on the Sabbath day, or the seventh day for mankind, that these people, or these children of Israel, will be gathered and brought back to their homeland on the Sabbath day. So we're going to go to Deuteronomy, matter of fact. Deuteronomy, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm gonna fly with this one. Go to Isaiah 14 first. Isaiah 14 first. We'll get a grasp on who the children of Israel are, because it's commonly taught that the black man is from Africa, but nobody seems to point out what part of Africa he's from. And we got people in the land that say they are Jews, but we can read in Revelation that these people that call themselves Jews are actually not, and they are liars. And that's a direct quote from the scriptures, Revelation 2:9, Revelation 3:9. You can read it on your own. So we're going to see clearly who the children of Israel are, but let's go here to Isaiah 7, I'm sorry, Isaiah 7. Isaiah chapter 7 and verse 14. Isaiah 7 and verse 14. Just wanted you to pull something out of here. Read verse 14. Go ahead.
Therefore, the Lord himself shall give you a sign.
What does a sign do? A sign is an identifier, right? He said the Lord himself going to give you a sign. Go ahead.
Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel.
Wait a minute, what are we doing? We talk about the Sabbath day and Israelites returning home. What are we reading this for? Well, I just want you guys to see what a sign does. It points to something. How did everybody know Jesus was the Messiah? Because he was born of what? A virgin. That was a sign to identify the Messiah, right? So let's see if we can point out or find any signs anywhere else in the Bible. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28.
All right.
Because I mentioned in the opening that we were going to show you who the children of Israel are without a doubt. Deuteronomy chapter 28. And what we're going to see here is that the Lord laid out the blessings and cursings. You get blessings if you obey, cursing if you do not obey.
That's right.
So we're going to look at a couple of these curses and see if we can put our hand on these people. Read verse 21, Deuteronomy 8 and verse 21. When you get there, brother, go ahead and read.
The Lord shall make...
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 41. When you get there, brother.
41, I'm sorry.
Go ahead and read.
Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them.
Why not?
For they shall go into captivity.
Wait a minute. These people that call themselves Jews are in their own land, supposedly. They're not in captivity. They're having kids and all that. They're not in captivity, right? It couldn't be them, could it? Let's continue. Skip down to verse 43. Just skip to 43. Go ahead.
The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low.
Now, you can read in Exodus 12, I believe, somewhere around there, that there was a mixed multitude that came out of Egypt.
Right.
So this is the stranger they're referring to, who came out amongst Israel when they were delivered. He said they're going to rise up, and what they're going to do?
All right, 44. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him.
Right. So we see that the so-called Jew, they are the money makers.
That's right.
They control everything. They control the banks and everything. Mm-hmm. So this is a direct, what they seem to be doing, and what we reading out of here, it don't add up.
Right.
It's not adding up. It says this people, the stranger will lend to thee, and what?
And thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail.
It looks like they're doing all the lending, so they wouldn't be the tail. It looks like they're the head. And if you could say, you know, well, how we know they came under the curse, read Deuteronomy chapter 9, and Daniel will tell you. Daniel will tell you that we did happen to fall under the curse, or the oath written in the law of Moses. Read verse 45. This is why we went to Isaiah 7. Read verse 45. Go ahead.
Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee.
So this people happen to be destroyed. Their kids is in captivity.
That's right.
I'll tell you plainly, like my teachers say, we are sons of slaves. Our ancestors came here. I'm talking to the black man, of course. We came here as slaves, and we ain't never went home.
Never.
And somehow we think we free, but we ain't never went home.
Right.
Look like we still in captivity. We having children, and are they being born and sent back to their homeland? Nope. No. They being born in captivity, ain't they? Right. Read the next verse. Go ahead.
And they shall be upon thee for a sign.
These curses gonna be upon thee for a sign. Mm-hmm. See, we believe a sign when it comes to Jesus, but we don't believe the sign when it identifies the black man as being the chosen people.
Right.
Shame. Can't pick and choose what we want to believe. Let's just stick to the book, and we'll be fine. Just watch, just read it, and it'll open up to you plainly.
Right.
Finish that.
And for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever.
Forever. That is until the Lord come back, and that's why we here. Go to James chapter 1, because we don't seem to believe that we scattered. Or, you know, they tell us in 1948, the British mandate, talking about Israel return home. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, let's see. James 1:1. This is New Testament too. James 1 and verse 1. Go ahead.
James, a servant of God and of the Lord Jesus Christ, to the 12 tribes.
Where are the 12 tribes of Israel at?
Which are scattered abroad. Greeting.
Writing to a people that scattered.
Right.
Like I mentioned, we ain't at home, are we?
No, sir.
We are not at home. You can read it on your own in Deuteronomy 32. That he was going to scatter us, and we was going to forget who we are.
That's right.
Let's go to Genesis. Genesis chapter 3, I believe. We're going to see about the Sabbath day. They say the Sabbath day is for the Jews. Matter of fact, Genesis chapter 2, I'm sorry. Genesis chapter 2, they say the Sabbath is for the Jews and all of that stuff.
Right.
And let's see if that's the case. Because this is the creation here, and we see man was created on the 6th day.
That's right.
There was no Jews here. Just Adam and Eve, right?
Right.
Genesis chapter 2 and verse 1.
Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the 7th day God ended his work which he had made. And he rested on the 7th day from all his work which he had made.
People act like the Lord went to sleep or something. He don't need no rest.
No, he doesn't.
He knew we did, though. He rested for us. He stopped working. That's all it was. He stopped working. He say, and on the 7th day, God ended his work which he had made. That's all that means.
That's right.
He didn't take a nap, sit down, and like, he didn't do none of that. He rested so we could rest.
That's right.
Because he know man ain't even smart enough to know he got to rest. You see it today. They'll work 7 days a week.
Straight.
That's why you hear the motto 24/7. I got to work 24/7. Not even smart enough to know that we ourselves need a break. What did he do in verse 3 again? Go ahead.
And the Lord blessed the seventh day and sanctified it.
He blessed the seventh day. He did. Man didn't come in with none of this.
That's right.
God blessed the seventh day, and he did what?
Sanctified it.
And he set it apart. So if you do something that's set apart, of course you would be set apart.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing something godly because God said, I'm the one that sanctify you.
That's right.
I want you to be separate.
Mm-hmm.
Like my teachers say, the crowd is usually wrong. So God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it because what?
Because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made.
Mm-hmm. Go to Acts chapter 1. Acts chapter 1. Mm-hmm. And pay attention to, just keep in mind what we just read in Genesis chapter 2. So we're going to touch on it. Acts chapter 1. Acts chapter 1 and verse 6. His disciples asking Christ a question right before he takes his ascent to the throne. Back to where the Father is. Go ahead, verse 6.
When they had therefore were come together, they asked of him, saying, Lord, wilt thou at this time restore again the kingdom to Israel?
Because they was in captivity at this point, under Roman rule at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not asking when you're going to take us to heaven, are they?
No, that's not on their mind.
They said, when are you going to restore the kingdom back to Israel?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's all about. Abraham was given a promise of a plot of land forever. The land of Canaan, that would be Israel as we know it today.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a little smaller than it was. But Israel is the promised land. And when Christ comes back, that's when you get that promise.
That's right.
He said, when they therefore were come together, they asked him, saying, Lord, wilt thou at this time restore again? Again, before we was in captivity, it was ours.
That's right.
Kingdom was always supposed to be ours. But we went astray. He said, again, the kingdom to Israel. And what did Christ say?
And he said unto them, it is not for you to know the times or the seasons, which the Father had put in his own power.
You pay attention. It wasn't given to them to know. Just like he told Daniel in Daniel 12, he said, shut up the book, Daniel. That's for the time of the end. Mm-hmm. And what he told them in the end, what would happen in the end? Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge would be increased. That's right. And that's why you see more and more people waking up, getting knowledge of self, and finding out what they're supposed to do to please the Lord, mm-hmm. which is synonymous with him returning. Mm-hmm. Go to Psalms 95. Because we got to understand that the Sabbath day is when the Lord coming back. Mm-hmm. See, what we read in Genesis chapter 2 is deeper than just him making the days and relaxing. Right. And we're going to see it. We're going to see exactly what I mean. Psalms. I'm sorry. You know, Psalms 95. Mm-hmm. The reason I say that is because we're going to read the same thing in Hebrews. Mm-hmm. Got ahead of myself. I apologize. Psalms 95 and verse 3. When you get there, brother, go ahead and read. For the Lord is a great God and a king above all gods. Mm-hmm. In his hand are the deep places of the earth. The strength of the hills is his also. Verse 6, go ahead. Oh, come, let us worship and bow down. Let us kneel before the Lord our Maker. Uh-huh. For he is our God, and we are the people of his pasture, and the sheep of his hand. Today, if you will hear his voice. Today, if you hear his voice, go ahead. Harden not your heart. Listen, harden not your hearts, because your ancestors hardened their hearts, and they didn't get in to the promised land, which is Jerusalem, the promised land. That's go right. ahead. Harden not your heart, as in the provocation, as in the day of temptation in the wilderness. When your fathers tempted me, proved me, and saw my work. 40 years long was I grieved with this generation. He waited 40 years for them to die off just so they wouldn't get into his rest. His rest. We're going to see they called it his rest. Go ahead. And said, it is a people that do err in their hearts, and they have not known my ways. Nor do they want to know, but go ahead. Unto whom I swear in my wrath that they should not enter into my rest. See, we got another rest here. Because we read in Genesis chapter 2, he rested. That was a rest right there, right? That was a rest. But it got some spiritual implications. It's a rest that we have not entered into yet. And we're going to see it. Go to Hebrews chapter 4. The rest, the Sabbath day, one and the same. And we're going to find out that the Lord will actually return Israel back home on the Sabbath day. Hebrews chapter 4. See, it points to something greater than just you just taking a week. You know, you worked hard all week and you relaxing. It's deeper than that. It has even more spiritual implications even with your life. You work out your own salvation with fear and trembling.
That's right.
And then you will finally get the rest when he come back. Hebrews chapter 4 and verse 1. When you get there, brother, go ahead and read.
Let us therefore fear, lest the promise being left us of entering to his rest, any of you should seem to come short of it.
See, we got another rest here. The same rest we talking about or we read in Psalms 95. Go ahead.
For unto us was the gospel preached, as well as unto them. But the word preached did not profit them, not being mixed with faith in them that heard it.
See, the same gospel they got preached to them, the same gospel we got. See, it ain't nothing new, ain't nothing changed. You hear people say, oh, that's in the Bible. That was in the Bible. They just had to do that. Well, we read in the New Testament, and he said in the same gospel that was preached to them, it's being preached to us.
That's right.
Go ahead and read.
Verse 3. For we which have believed do enter into rest, as he said, as I have sworn in my wrath, if they shall enter into my rest, although the works were finished from the foundation of the world.
See, the works was finished from the foundation of the world. So we got another rest it's pointing to. He said, for we which have believed do enter into rest, at least we hope to.
That's right.
We do enter into rest because we know why we doing it. We understand that this points to the last day for mankind.
That's right.
We're going to read in the next book, a day to the Lord is 1,000 years. Man was created on the sixth day.
The sixth day, yeah.
He got 6,000 years to get this thing right. And on the 12th day, which would be the seventh day for man, the Lord returned.
Teach it, brother.
For we which have believed do enter into rest, as he said, as I have sworn in my wrath, if they shall enter into my rest, although the works were finished from the foundation of the world. Clearly pointing you to something in the future. Read verse 4. Go ahead.
For he spake in a certain place of the seventh day on this wise, and God did rest the seventh day from all his works.
You see that? That's what we read in Genesis chapter 2. Skip down to verse 9. Go ahead.
There remaineth therefore a rest to the people of God.
Oh, see, there remaineth therefore a rest to the people of God. So this weekly Sabbath, every day we start working, this is pointing to something far greater.
Right.
Even the return from captivity for Israel. Go ahead.
10. For he that is entered into his rest, he also have ceased from his own works, as God did from his. Let us labor, therefore, to enter into that rest, lest any man fall after the same example of unbelief.
Let's go to 2 Peter chapter 3. Just to confirm what I mentioned, how man has 6,000 years to get it right. 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 8. Go ahead and read.
But, beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day.
That's perfect. Go to Revelation chapter 20. And we're going to see this Sabbath day clear as day right here. The Sabbath day clear as day, right? Revelation 20 and verse 1. When you get there, brother, go ahead and read.
And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit, and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years.
Man, they put the destroyer up for 1,000 years.
Right.
Remember, I said we coming back. The Lord will return on the seventh day for mankind. He had to bind Satan up because this is a day of rest. No more torment. Right?
That's right.
He had to put the destroyer up for a season. And what was that purpose for? Skip down to verse 4 and read.
And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus and for the word of God.
So everybody ain't going to like you serving the Lord.
Yep.
Just learning something on your way to learning something. Go ahead and read.
and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years.
One day with the Lord, they reigned with him on what? The seventh day. The 7,000 year for mankind, the Sabbath day. This is what it points to.
That's right.
See, we can't change none of this. That's how you know people don't understand what they're doing. They say the Sabbath day changed. It can never change.
Can't never.
The Sabbath day was instituted all the way back in Genesis.
In the garden.
Before the garden. Before there was a man to till the ground. We didn't read that,
right.
but you can read it on your own. It could have never been changed. Verse 5.
But the rest of the dead lived not again until the 1,000 years were finished.
The rest of the dead, those that didn't make the first resurrection, they didn't make the cut. Got to wait that another 1,000 years. Right. They don't get to rest on the Sabbath day. They don't get to reign with the Lord on the Sabbath day. They probably didn't do it. Most likely didn't do it when they had the chance.
Right.
So if you ignore it now, how you think when the Lord come back you're gonna get it then? So that's why we keep the Sabbath. Not only because we're supposed to, we understand the spiritual implications, and now we showing the Lord, we waiting on you, we want to go back home.
That's right.
Go to Isaiah 11. And this is the gist or the base of the title of the lesson. Israel, or the Israelites, returning home on this day. The seventh day we just read about. Isaiah chapter 11. And what's going to happen at this time? Isaiah 11 and verse 4. Go ahead.
But with righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove with equity for the meek of the earth. And he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked. That's you. We can read in Amos 5 that when the Lord comes back, it's going to be a terrible time. Terrible time. So this is some of the things you're seeing. He got a recompense for those that sinned against him, or those that obeyed not the gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ. You can read that in 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, but go ahead. Verse 5. And righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. You ain't seen this stuff yet. Nah. You put a wolf with a lamb, it's party time. It's dinner time, matter of fact. Go ahead. 7. And the cow and the bear shall feed. The young ones shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox. We ain't seeing none of this yet, but how is this relevant, you asking? Why are we reading this? Go ahead. And the suckling child shall play on the hole of the asp. The little baby ain't playing with no snake. You ain't seen none of that. Go ahead. And the weaned child shall put his hand on the cockatrice's den. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea. We don't see none of these things happening. None of it. Not yet. Why is this relevant? Because there's some things that are going to be taking place during this time. When you see a lamb and a wolf, and you see babies playing with snakes, there's something taking place here. Right. This is the Sabbath day we're reading about. Sabbath. Nothing but peace here. That shows you peace. A wolf and a lamb, bear and a cow, chilling. A baby playing with a snake, not getting bit. That's peace. No more danger. Peace. It looks like rest to me. Let's see. Skip to verse 11. Go ahead. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt. Then we read in James that the 12 tribes of Israel are scattered abroad. Look where they scattered at. He delivering them. He coming to get them. It don't say nothing about the Sabbath day here, Brother Ira. No. Man, we in the wrong chapter. Let's continue. Go ahead. And from Pathros, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea. What else? And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. What day is this happening? Verse 10. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people, and to it shall the Gentiles seek, and the rest, the what? And his rest shall be glorious.
And whose rest? His rest. His rest. This same God we read about in Genesis chapter 2. His rest. But what's happening on his rest day or his Sabbath day? The children of Israel are getting delivered.
Coming back home.
Coming back home. Go to Exodus chapter 15. The double prophecy. Again, many spiritual implications. Even with the children of Israel being delivered from the bondage of Egypt. Exodus 15 and verse 12. When you get there, brother, go ahead and read.
Is not this the word that
Exodus 15 and verse 12.
I'm sorry, pardon me.
When you get there, brother, go ahead and read.
Thou stretchest out thy right hand, the earth swallowed them up.
This is what he did to the Egyptians in delivering them. He had to destroy them. We've seen some destruction over there in Isaiah 11, didn't we? Same type of thing happening. Twofold prophecy going on. Go ahead.
Thou in thy mercy hast led forth the people which thou hast redeemed. Thou hast guided them in thy strength unto thy holy habitation.
Thy holy habitation, Jerusalem. Jump to verse 15. Go ahead.
Then the dukes of Edom shall be amazed. The mighty men of Moab, trembling, shall take hold upon them.
You're going to be scared when the Lord come back. Ain't going to be no might, no power in nobody's hand.
That's right.
The captivity we in, he going to destroy those. Destroy our captives, right?
That's right.
And they ain't going to have no might or power, right? Nah, go ahead.
It's over with. All the inhabitants of Canaan shall melt away.
See, it's the same thing is going to happen. It say Canaan here, I know. Twofold prophecy, same type of thing going to happen to the nations that have us at this time when the Lord come back. You'll see it. Go ahead.
Fear and dread shall fall upon them.
Of course it is. You can read in Jeremiah. He said, every man hands on his loins and all type of stuff. Terrified, shaking in their boots. Because you can't deal with the power of the Almighty. Go ahead.
By the greatness of thine arm, they shall be as still as a stone.
The greatness of thine arm. Jesus is the arm of the Lord. I believe you can read in Isaiah 59. He's the arm of the Lord. To whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? Go ahead.
Till thy people pass over.
Till thy people get in their land. Ain't nobody going to touch us. Go ahead.
O Lord, till thy people pass over, which thou hast purchased.
And what are you going to do with them?
Thou shalt bring them in and plant them in the mountain of thine inheritance.
Thine inheritance, same inheritance that was promised to Abraham, the land of Israel. Jerusalem. Go ahead.
In the place, O Lord, which thou hast made for thee to dwell in.
The place he made for him to dwell in, that what?
In the sanctuary.
In thy sanctuary. Okay. Isaiah chapter 14. I see it. I got the clock running. Isaiah 14. Isaiah chapter 14. See, Israel, the Sabbath day is very important.
Very important.
And a lot of the other nations going to realize how important it is. Even at this time, you can read in that Zechariah chapter 8, he said the stranger is going to grab a hold of one that is a Jew by the skirt and say, I heard the Lord is with you. I'm going with you.
Yes, sir.
Even in John chapter 4, he tells you salvation is of the Jews. You better find one and do what they do. You'll get the inheritance with them. Ezekiel chapter 47 will tell you that. And this is all taking place on the seventh day for mankind.
That's right.
Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 1. When you get there, brother, go ahead and read.
For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land. The strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place. And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives, who captives they were.
So you ain't going to be no slave no more. You're going to be the ruler in this case. Lord going to flip the script. Go ahead.
And they shall rule over their oppressors.
And what else is going to happen?
And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall give thee rest.
Give thee what?
Give thee rest from
from
thy sorrow. And from thy fear, and from the hard bondage wherein thou wast made to serve.
Read verse 7, and this is it.
The whole earth is at rest.
At this time when Israel go back home, what day is this?
The Sabbath day.
The Sabbath day. He said the whole earth is at rest.